Fear is the invisible wall that we let separate us from happiness. Do you know what the most important relationship there is in your life? Have you gone in and out of unhealthy relationships, not taking the time to really get to know yourself? If you've found many unhealthy relationships and you feel unhappy, scared, and fearful of what's to come, you can't miss this video. Hi friends, I'm glad to be back today. And today I'm going to be talking about the most important relationship there is. The most important relationship that you will have in your entire life. So join me today while I expose one of the biggest secrets that very few people actually know the answer to. So if you haven't figured it out yet, and I'm sure you have, the most important relationship in your life should be you. And it should be you because why else are we here? If you really think about it, it's interesting how most of us are always putting other people first. We're codependent in our relationships. We sit in a relationship way longer than we should when it's abusive, unhealthy. And we don't take the time to actually delve into the reason why we're here. Our purpose, to begin to embrace our life, to understand what we stand for, our values, to complement ourselves, and to actually do the things that we need to do to improve ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually on a day-to-day basis. So as we talk about this, the interesting part about it is that when we begin to realize that we actually have a relationship with ourselves, because I think many of us don't even realize that that relationship exists. Okay, really honestly. How often have you thought about how you feel about yourself? How often have you really thought about, wow, I'm really doing things to better myself, or maybe I'm not really taking care of myself? Most of us, when we're dating, do things for the other person, right? We cook for them, we take them out, we do whatever to make them happy. But why can't we take that energy and use it on us? To get to know ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to show us that we actually care about our relationship with ourselves. Very powerful stuff. I don't know if you know, but several years ago, I took a year off from dating and a year off from sex to get to know who I was. In the very beginning, it was one of the scariest things I'd ever done. Seriously scary. Like, I had my phone in my hand like a death grip, hoping that somebody would call me so I could stop trying to learn this stuff about myself and move on with my life, okay? But I realized that what I was doing, like all these past relationships were doing, is I was actually devaluing myself the whole time, okay? Devaluing the relationship with me. And I never caught on to that. I thought I was being the best girlfriend, the best fiance, whatever that is, but I was never doing anything for me. And then I wondered in all these relationships, why was I being devalued? Why was that person devaluing me? Why didn't they see my contributions to the relationship? Why was I trying to fight so hard to prove my point? Why was I constantly over-explaining who I was and what I was doing? It was because I didn't value myself. And it's weird how that works. When you don't value you, the person you're with subconsciously doesn't value you either. But let me take it a step further. When you don't value you, you actually subconsciously choose relationships, okay, that will fall apart based on the fact that it is unhealthy because you haven't gotten right with you. A good example, if you're needing health advice from a physician, you're going to go to a physician that's healthy. Okay, it's just that simple. You're not going to go to a physician that you see doesn't take care of themselves, is out all the time, completely disregards their own health to get advice on health. Okay, and the same thing applies in relationships. When we're healthy, inside and out, when we're healthy, and I'm talking about internal healthiness, spiritually, mentally, emotionally fit, we can then find a counterpart of someone who is mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally fit. If you don't have that within you, you can't go looking for that for someone else. It's a double standard. I don't have it, but you got to have it. Otherwise, I'm not going to be in a relationship with you. Makes no sense. Okay, so we've got to get fit on our side before we find a counterpart that is fit. But it takes work to get there. Like anything in life, to be successful in your career, it takes work. You have to put in the hours. You got to show up. You got to do well on the projects. You got to go the extra mile. There's times where you don't sleep trying to get the projects done to make it happen, right? Same thing is with a friendship, because relationships are work. The same thing applies to the relationship with yourself. And that's why most people never do it, because they never see the value. And then they go through years of their life with all these unhealthy relationships, wondering why they're constantly devalued. And then eventually they're so old that they begin to see some sort of wisdom that they never got to know themselves. And that ends a life in a very unhappy way, because it's hard to get back time. And it also leaves someone with years and years of regret of never getting to know themselves. Okay, I don't want you to have that regret. I actually care about you. So let's start talking about things you can do right now to embrace yourself and to begin that relationship with you. Something that very few people do, only very successful people do, that want to make their life on this planet awesome and want to really get to understand their fullest potential. Remember from earlier, fear is the invisible wall that we let separate us from happiness. I came up with that. I thought that was pretty cool, and it's very true. So the first thing, in order to get to understand ourselves, we have to push through that fear. Fear has no feeling. Fear is just like guilt, right? It's a very empty emotion. It's an empty feeling, right? The first thing we want to do is we want to define and understand what we're passionate about. Okay, one of the things that I did that really helped me is that I went back to my childhood and I thought about the things that I was really passionate about, the things that I really loved, before society and parents stifled my feelings about things, right? Because that's what happens. Oh, you'll never do this, you'll never do that. And I went back and I realized some of the things that I really got joy from. And I'm not talking about changing careers. I'm talking about I got a lot of joy from being in nature. I got a lot of joy in taking photographs and writing. And so I connected with that inner child of mine. That was one of the things that I did. And I wrote as many times often in a week as I could in a journal, and wrote different poetry and different stories. I got myself out in nature, and I really started brushing up on my ability to photograph and my techniques and talents. And it really brought me closer to embracing a relationship with myself, because if you really think about it, when you're dating someone, you might go out in nature and hold hands. You might take photographs when you're on a trip, that sort of thing. Maybe you write little letters to each other. Why can't you do that in your own life? Whatever that is that you love. It could be various things. You could love to go bike riding. You could love to write poetry. There's so many things. Maybe you like to go sailing. But these are things that we do with ourselves to begin to embrace our relationship and really take it to a new level, because we're enjoying ourselves on our own. The second way that you can begin to get closer to you and to understand who you are is to stop using all your energy on them. On them, the proverbial them, anybody. Let me give you a good analogy. Haven't you ever had that friend that you always want to hang out with, and every time you get to hang out with them, like they don't really want to do anything, they're tired, they went out the night before and partied it up, and there you are kind of like the crumbs. Okay, it's like, okay, you can go out to eat for like an hour or so and then it's done, and they're like, I got to go to bed. Doesn't that piss you off? Don't you kind of feel devalued in the fact that they're always going out with other people, doing all these great things, and then when it comes to you, you get the crumbs, you get to go out for an hour to go eat, even though you've been looking forward to this for a week? You know what that does to your self-esteem? Well, guess what? You're doing that to you. You're doing it to you. You give all your time to all these people. You've given all this time to even the dude or the gal on Bumble. You don't even know them. You give all this time, all this energy, going on, texting, going on these dates, which usually, might not really have anything but a dead end. And you're left with the crumbs. You spend no time with you. All you do is you go home and pass out. What kind of life is that? Are you really getting to know yourself? Or are you just walking through the motions because you're constantly looking at somebody else to validate you when you've forgotten the fact that you are the only person that can validate you? So as long as you keep going down the primrose path of looking for outside validation, you will always come up short. It will never work. And it will just upset you over a longer period of time. So it's time to pull back that energy back, stop giving it to every single person, and begin to look at yourself as the most important relationship. What can I do to help myself? Okay? Not just going to work, home, and sleep. Working out, taking care of yourself, doing things to further the relationship for you. Okay, thirdly, this is something you can't run away from. You just can't. The longer you delay meeting and embracing yourself, the sadder it gets. Okay? Because this is something that you actually have to work on, because we can go through our 20s and maybe our 30s with not really figuring any of this out, but later down the road, it doesn't get pretty. It gets worse. Because we end up having all this remorse and regret because we've never figured out how to love ourselves. Okay? And the later on down the road we get with more regret and anger and resentment because we haven't found anybody, because nobody seems to be able to love us right? We can't find anybody because we've already devalued ourselves and everybody keeps devaluing us, right? So we keep going into the wrong relationships. Eventually we begin to realize that we've wasted our lifetime on the salad course, right? And we never got to the main course meal. We never got there. The main course was understanding who we are, right? Because when we understand who we are, we can get the dessert out of life. Do you see what I'm saying? Because otherwise we don't ever get there. You never get the ice cream. You never get the baked Alaska. You never get it because you never got to the main course. You were over there doing all this other stuff, trying to get this person to like you, or this person to understand that you're right, or getting this other person to realize that they're the one with the disorder, right? And you're just trying to help them. And maybe they'll come around to it. And maybe they'll become that knight in shining armor or that princess that you want to marry that has no way of doing that, okay? It's like we want all these people to be this amazing stuff when in reality, we've never even worked on ourselves to be the amazing stuff, okay? So you can't run away from it. I mean, you can, but wouldn't you rather want to take care of it now and it's never too late so that that regret is not part of your life? Because anybody that actually has true regret in their life will tell you it's one of the most painful, horrible feelings to ever have in your life. And it's something that makes you feel really sad for the things that you didn't accomplish. I'm going to leave you with 3 caveats. The first one is to stop wasting time with unhealthy people to avoid being alone. Okay? Really. I think this is self-explanatory. Why keep wasting time with people that are unhealthy in your life just because you're scared of getting to know yourself? It's a losing proposition. Second thing is you want to make sex a high commodity. It's not to be given to everyone. If you want to show respect for your temple and your body and begin to have a relationship with yourself that matters and to stop devaluing yourself, okay? Stop giving it away. Start thinking about who you're giving it to and really put a high price on that, because it's actually a really big deal. Last but not least, you want to take time to date yourself. That means watching movies that uplift you, that really connect with you in your mind and your heart. Doing some spiritual stuff that really resonates with you, as well as cooking for yourself and exercising. It's not about dating other people, it's about dating yourself. Actually preparing a meal and preparing it with love for yourself. You're going to thank yourself later for this. It's going to be an actual big deal. It'll be a hurdle that you will succeed with. You will actually overcome this hurdle, walk right over it, right? Otherwise, what's left? Otherwise, you have regret, and regret is the price that you pay at the end of this lifetime. So instead of feeling that regret at the end of the lifetime, get to know you. Create this relationship with you. Don't see yourself as being lonely and alone. See yourself as having the time to now work on the most important relationship there is, and that's you. When you put yourself on a pedestal and you begin to see the amazing things about yourself and you really get in deep with your heart and soul and you work to let go of that baggage and those negative patterns that we've created because we're scared of being alone, when you begin to start unpacking that stuff and you begin to actually show yourself love by like cooking for yourself and cleaning and working out and exercising and doing the things that you loved as a kid, you get connected to you at the heart, at the soul level. Most powerful relationship you can have. And once you've really begun to master that and you've realized the value of that every single day of your life, then and only then will you actually meet somebody that understands your value and you understand their value. And you move from the main course to the dessert. I hope this video has really resonated with you. It's really important stuff, and hopefully you will integrate it into your day-to-day life. If you haven't already, remember to subscribe to the channel because it's important and it really helps us know that this content's really working. And in the meantime, in the comment section below, let us know some of the things that you've started doing to really resonate with yourself, or some work that you've done that I didn't share in this video, because I think that when we get to know ourselves and we actually provide that time and effort, it goes a long way and it shows in everything we do in our life. So in the meantime, as you know, and I'll say it again, don't forget to live your true life. Are you currently in a toxic relationship and unsure what the next day will bring? Have you often wondered if there's more to life than this? Do you suffer from self-esteem issues that you've had since you were a young child? Have issues or have difficulty speaking with your family? Do you feel surrounded by self-centered people? Seems as though you're always giving and they're always taking. If you've answered yes to any of these questions, you need some answers. The 10-day challenge to live your true life gives you the knowledge and techniques for creating boundaries in your life that help us to deal with family, as well as dealing with those narcissistic and toxic people in your life. It offers the insight into understanding and overcoming your self-esteem issues, and to begin to see for the first time your amazing value. You owe it to yourself to find the power within you.